Whoa, who are these two handsome fellas?
Welcome in, Renegades. Today we have a wonderful video. My good friend Six Figs is here today, and we're going to talk about the ways that you're going to win the biggest in crypto and how to win. I know Six Figs was actually in crypto before me. He bought Bitcoin at an early time, so we are two OGs in the ecosystem, and we're holding it down for CKB today. We have an amazing video. We're going to talk about some interesting stuff that I didn't even know about the Nervos network that me and Six Figs were just discussing that was pretty interesting to both of us. So we thought we would share that with you guys. And today we're going to talk about CKB. We're going to talk about the Eco Fund. We're going to talk about some interesting integrations. And then we're going to talk about the most interesting projects in CKB. And then we're going to look at the charts. So Six Figs, just go ahead and do a brief introduction. Let people know kind of how the sentiment is for you right now in crypto, because it has been a little bit of an interesting bull market to see all this liquidity come into these big cap altcoins and then kind of flow and trickle into these smaller cap coins that are really building some interesting things.
Yeah, definitely. And if you want my take on like the ecosystem here, really in like crypto in general, I feel like crypto is on the cusp or on the verge per se of potentially the beginning of the bull run. And I say that because of timing. We're right around that 4-year mark from the last melt up, and that's a term that really hasn't been spewed around too much since like 2021. But I've been looking at a lot of liquidation heat maps throughout the markets and things like that. We're starting to see like the longs kind of get liquidated at the lower levels, and really when this happens, you start to see the market makers target, okay, the liquidity and where these liquidity pockets are trapped, right? So like we're seeing a lot of longs get wiped out, but then that leaves targets for the shorts, which are at higher price ranges. And so I'm hoping to see the markets kind of move up, and then I'm hoping to see like a short squeeze, similar to like what we've seen back in 2021 or the fall of 21, where we see these melt ups happen. So that's kind of my thoughts on things. I think right now we're in the middle of September. We just had rate cuts, which obviously are super bullish for the entire, it doesn't matter what industry or what commodity or, the stock market or whatever. It's super bullish across the board because now people have more spending power than they did before. A lot of people are on fixed incomes. To be able to refinance for less is super bullish. Unfortunately, like the housing market, for example, interest rates went up even though they did a rate cut. Stuff to do with like the bond markets and things like that caused that anomaly. But this fact that we have a succession of interest rates cuts, two at least for the remainder of the year, is super bullish to me. I feel like we're just kind of at maybe this point in crypto where we start to really see the tides turn, and we might really see, even though this isn't the bottom, we might start to see the bottom before prices start to kind of lift off. So if I had to like explain what my thoughts were on the current markets, that's it.
So I've actually, you brought up the FOMC meeting to me last week. So I ended up doing a lot of research. I watched it. It was actually on my lunch break that the FOMC meeting happened. And it was a kind of a dovish stance because
Mhm.
essentially, the interest rates did go down. Now the job market is kind of suffering right now. So essentially what happened in the crypto market is that we did get this brief, buy the news or buy the rumor, sell the news kind of
Mhm.
deal. And then, even after the FOMC meeting, it was projected that there would be a couple of interest rate cuts in the next coming months in the rest of the year. So, but the way that Jerome Powell delivered this speech made it seem like it wasn't as bullish as it really was. because of these interest rate cuts. It takes less money to be able to borrow money. So that does cut the price of those interest rates on borrowing money. So that liquidity can start to flow into the crypto market. Now, what the big money does is when these bullish things happen, because when the interest rate keeps getting cut this year, it's going to cost less to borrow money. And then people are going to look for higher risk investments.
Right.
So in the short term, we had the buy the rumor, sell the news, which led us to, yes, a brief pump and then a pullback, which is normal for this kind of situation.
Yeah.
But what it's going to do is create a future liquidity way. So that takes time for that liquidity to flow into the market,
Yes.
right? So when the interest rate cuts it, it's like mining, right? It takes 18 months after the Bitcoin halving for us to see that big bull market spike, right? It takes time for, the supply and demand to equal. Okay, there's less selling pressure from the miners now, so the price gradually goes up over time and then reaches a peak about 18 months. I'm thinking that's the same thing with the rate cut, that over time we're going to see those benefits of the less interest rates for borrowing money, and that liquidity of borrowing money is going to start to flow into these lower cap altcoins, because Bitcoin has already had his massive pump. Ethereum had a pretty massive pump. We haven't seen the second half of altcoin season yet. We're at a 70. What are we at? I thought it was 78. I think we were at 76 last time I looked on the Coin Market Cap altcoin season index. I've been watching this pretty closely, as well as the Bitcoin dominance, which CKB is very tied to Bitcoin with a lot of the projects. We're going to look at that. But it is 76 right now on the altcoin index. Anything over 75 says that the top, I think 50 altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin over the last 90 days. So essentially what we're seeing is, okay, altcoins starting to outperform Bitcoin before this pretty bullish and dovish news that we have from the Fed. We're starting to see major projects getting built on the Nervos network, like RGB++. We're starting to see that, Sphinx system being integrated with the quantum resistance wallets that are being created for the Nervos network.
Yes.
And so we're starting to see like all of these foundational tools being built for the crypto, really tied into the price of Bitcoin, which is the top performing crypto. So I'm super bullish for crypto right now. I don't know about you guys. We're in the bull market. Yes, the prices suck lately, but this is the psychological power of crypto. And I just can't wait for, this coming Thanksgiving. I think by Thanksgiving, we're really going to see a lot of profits. And I'm going to be taking profits, I'm not going to lie, probably before Christmas. Not going to lie.
Hopefully, man. And, hopefully everybody gets to sit around that Thanksgiving table, especially like, the people in the United States that are celebrating this. And they get to pretty much tell their aunts and uncles and their cousins, see, I told you so. And because, let's face it, every 3 out of 4 years, these people are getting hammered at that table about crypto. And,
oh, yeah.
It just is what it is. But I share your sentiment, and I feel like, we're kind of at the beginning stages of this next cycle, and I feel like Bitcoin is decoupled so much from the rest of traditional crypto as far as a historical perspective is concerned, simply because the last bull cycles, I'm going to go all the way back to the inception of Bitcoin, have all been non-institutional support, really, like hedge funds, all that stuff have not. There was no BlackRock loading up on Bitcoin. There was zero. So I mean, Bitcoin in itself has kind of decoupled from the markets. My only worry is that with Bitcoin reigning this cycle and kind of decoupling from everything else, is that these people like BlackRock and all these hedge funds owning large amounts, Michael Saylor, they own so much Bitcoin. It's insane. The one problem that we're going to run into is liquidity. There's going to be liquidity crises when all these people start to offload and sell, because in order to meet demand, all these exchanges are going to be forced to liquidate tokens other than Bitcoin to fill sell orders and things like that. So It's no different than when like 500 Bitcoin, wallet that's been dormant for 20 years gets activated and somebody wipes $1 billion off the market cap. Like we see everything kind of tank with it. But my fear is that, like, especially like moving on into the next few years, like this could become something bigger that people should know about and be concerned about. I think like we're early enough right now where these hedge funds and things like that are kind of playing the long game, because they are trying to attract more of the masses, to offload their bags on. Right? They don't care about the retail right now. Like, okay, the retail is going to make a few bucks, right? But it's all these boomers and stuff like that that are going to be offloading their 401ks into Bitcoin and things like that. These are the targets for these hedge funds, and they know it. So I think like we're going to see some crazy stuff happen. And I want to be out like you by Christmas, um, pending, um, you know, market action, I guess.
So this is a big point that I'd like to make right now, because every time the market seems different and the cycle seems different, and there is a true change this time with the institutional market, but I'm not risking the cycle not changing, because last time I was like, oh, maybe it'll be different this time, and it wasn't. And
Everybody
so,
says it, dude,
and I'm not
myself
building it,
included.
not this time. So I'm gonna sell, and if it does go up, then whatever happens, I'm gonna buy back in 2027 ish anyway. So it doesn't matter to me if like I only get halfway to the top. I know by the time we hit November, we're going to see altcoin season. We're already starting to see it. All the technical indicators that I've been looking for are starting to happen. Now with the FOMC, it kind of changes things a little bit, but the altcoin index doesn't lie. With a lot of the other factors, the Bitcoin dominance is so far down right now. We haven't seen that. It went literally from 67 to 58. So we're starting to see things really start to shift in the market. We're starting to see some consolidation from Bitcoin. And then we're starting to see some of the bigger cap gems moving. Next, it comes into the lower cap gems. And this is what I want to talk about today. The money will not only flow into these lower cap gems, but they will also flow into the ecosystem and the projects within the ecosystem. So what I want to share with you guys today is some of these projects. We're going to talk about this pretty quickly today. I just want to briefly touch on the eco fund for CKB. Now, this is a huge thing, because Bitcoin is the biggest crypto out there. It has, institutional adoption now. It is actually a monetary system that will be reckoned with now. It has a multi-trillion-dollar market cap, and CKB is so closely integrated with Bitcoin with RGB++. We're starting to see these, initiatives where they're going to fund development. So I want to talk about the development of crypto, because even when I look up stuff with AI and crypto, and I'm wondering, when are we going to see this altcoin season? Because we've been hoping for an altcoin season. We need altcoin season. And so essentially a big part of altcoin season is, yes, the altcoins starting to outperform Bitcoin. We start to see liquidity come into the market. But also another thing that any AI that tells me about any altcoin season is the development of the ecosystem within a certain crypto. This is a big factor whether it's going to pump during this altcoin season, and how much it's going to pump during this altcoin season. And is the blockchain supporting the developers that are building on the ecosystem? Well, they have a CKB Eco Fund here that is to empower the Bitcoin ecosystem with the CKB. So there's documents, grants, and support to get you started. This is something that is just not done by every single blockchain, that is really trying to bolster that development and really establish itself for the upcoming markets. And we do have a lot of these different projects. Now, I want to talk about a few of these, like RGB++. It's an extended RGB protocol, which is a Bitcoin protocol, original Bitcoin protocol. But now it is actually accessible through CKB, through RGB++. So this is a huge thing for a crypto to be tightly integrated with the biggest institutionally and biggest crypto of all times. So Six
Yes.
Figs, anything to add before I move on?
Absolutely. RGB was built by a gentleman named Cypher Wang. And Cypher Wang is one of actually like the most brilliant cryptographers out there. And I actually had the opportunity to meet Cypher Wang in Thailand back in 2023 at a convention. And I spent like a whole day with them. Anyways, brilliant man. And he created RGB to really give Bitcoin that extra oomph. And he named it RGB in honor of RGB, which is stands for like really good Bitcoin, right? Now, the person that developed the RGB protocol was very salty at Cypher Wang, but Cypher did that to honor RGB. And I'll say this much: Cypher Wang has also gone on to he's his company Nervina Labs is also played a part in developing what I see on your screen, Joy ID. Now, if you guys are looking for an absolutely insane crypto wallet, like just check out Joy ID. You can literally create a wallet within like 7 seconds of landing on their website. It's insane. And it's
Not
so user friendly. I use Joy ID all the time.
dope.
Um yeah, but really when it comes down to it, um RGB is just kind of like superior to RGB, and um you can do more with smart contracts and things like that. I did a whole video on this, and it's just so much better than RGB with respect. You got
Right.
to pay respect to RGB. But yeah, I'm actually super bullish on RGB and I think that like once it catches on a little bit more, there will be more utility and things like that. Like you'll start to see more projects and stuff popping up supporting Bitcoin.
Yeah, and some of the things they have on RGB kind of trip me out in a good way. Like you have the UTXO swap, where you can trade the assets, like within the Bitcoin ecosystem through CKB. We have the Mobit, effortlessly and securely transfer assets between Bitcoin and CKB. This is a huge thing for crypto because the ecosystem is going to drive the future adoption of the crypto. So you
Mhm.
have to understand that. And then every freaking crypto, whether it be on just CKB or a integration of CKB and Bitcoin, needs a stable coin.
Oh,
The first stablecoin issued on RGB++. I actually love this project. They were giving out some nice, I believe, staking rewards at the very beginning when they were launching this. It's a very interesting project, and this is just the development of the RGB++ on the CKB ecosystem. I think it's pretty interesting.
yes. You mentioned stable coins and how every ecosystem needs them. That is so the truth, dude, because it gives traders an opportunity to protect their capital. Having stable coins is just like a necessity. And people are just sick of like the wrap stuff, right? So it's just kind of one of those things where, okay, you can move in and out of a stable coin. That's perfect. To have this within the Bitcoin ecosystem is great.
100%. And you can actually get your digital objects on Bitcoin through Dobby. Haven't checked that one out yet, but now
Mhm.
that I see this, I definitely want to look more into this. Now, one more thing before I go on, I do want to talk about Nervape real quick. I did meet this team in person. I know you've met them, Six Figs,
Yes.
but this is an interesting project as they are using RWA like statue type things as compatible NFTs. Their project's really interesting. I'm hoping to get these guys on the channel one day. But yeah, this is just another interesting thing that they're doing. They created a metaverse and it has like this ongoing story and digital objects. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've met the Nervape team. I met them in Asia back in 2023. Um, Really a brilliant group of people heading that project. I think that, you know, they've been around CKB since like the beginning. So yeah, they're doing great work. And I hope that you can get them on your channel. I
Yeah,
had some great discussions with them. I think I met up with them in it was in Thailand. So they're at a conference again, and yeah, nothing. I spent the day with them actually. Spent a couple days with them. They're a great team, every single one of them.
yeah, they were so friendly, bro. Like they
Yes.
made me. I never met anybody in this CKB ecosystem. I just went to an event. I was going to an ICP event, and they had a side event for CKB. And I just started like you guys told me about CKB when we went to LA and did the documentary. And then
Mhm.
I was like, man, I got to go to this side event, dude. And
Yeah.
then I met these guys, and they were super welcoming. They kind of made me feel,
Yeah.
you know, like at home there, like I belonged, and their project's really cool. They're definitely
Yeah.
very intelligent. They have some cool
Oh,
things that they're doing. So I really support this project, and I can't wait to see what they do. And we'll talk more about that in the future for sure.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Nervape's definitely OG, like one of the strongest supporters of CKB, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Right up there
100%.
with Nervos Nation. Nervos Nation being the first, but yeah.
I mean, Nervos community, Nervos Nation is a leading force. You need something like that
Yeah.
to
Huge.
have the community, to have a place to have that voice, because it isn't just like, oh, it's a community, you know, a person that leads this community. It's like a whole community of people, you know, that this specific account that leads, and we can all interact and have that place to discuss these important topics in places like that. So very important.
Mhm.
Now, I thought this was, I never knew this. So this kind of impressed me with CKB today. I'm not going to lie to you. So essentially, CKB has an interesting little integration with Anchor. Now, if you guys follow my channel for a long time, I put a lot of money into Anchor back in the day. I made some nice profits off of Anchor. Didn't even know CKB had anything to do with it. And me and Six Figs were sitting here discussing this, and I had to look a little bit deeper into this. So I want to discuss the relationship a little bit right now of the Nervos network and Anchor, because I thought this was very, very interesting. So I'm not gonna go a lot into this. But the primary connection between Nervos and Anchor is that Anchor provides remote procedure call endpoints for the Nervos blockchain. This service allows developers to easily connect their applications to the Nervos network. An RPC endpoint is essentially a gateway that allows a decentralized application, DApp, or developer's tool to interact with the blockchain. Instead of running a full node, a computer that stores and validates the entire history of a blockchain, developers can use an RPC endpoint provided like a service, by a service like Anchor, to send transactions and query blockchain data. So, man, I might need this in some of the development I'm doing. Okay, that's good to know. How Anchor and CKB do work together, though. Nervos Network is a layered blockchain platform with its native token CKB. It's layer one. The common knowledge base is a secure proof of work blockchain that serves as a foundation for other layers and applications. Well, I love CKB so much because it fits with my dynamic of what I think makes a good crypto. And Anchor is a decentralized infrastructure provider that offers a global network of RPC nodes for various blockchains. This service streamlines the development process for Web3 projects. By providing an RPC endpoint for Nervos, Anchor makes it easier for developers to build on the Nervos network. This partnership helps to increase the adoption and utility of the Nervos blockchain by lowering the barrier for entry for developers. Now, this is important. Again, it goes back to our the earlier point that the growth of the ecosystem contributes to the long-term sustainability of a crypto. Now, when I look for projects, there's a few things that I look for, and one is long-term roadmap, long-term sustainability, that foundational growth, and the ability to scale to the masses. So you have to have all of those things in place, because we've seen a lot of blockchains that have, you know, been around for a long time that have not been quite successful. and building their ecosystems out. So I want to talk about these kind of integrations where blockchains are going to use systems from each other. And this is the future of blockchain, where if you're not interoperable with other cryptos, you're actually not going to succeed as much in building your blockchain, because
Mhm.
certain blockchains are limited, or other blockchains might do it a little better, and you need that compatibility. So with CKB, my biggest green flag and why I love CKB the most is that interoperability, that it can actually use these procedures in a native non-bridge way, and it can actually integrate in a certain way with these cryptos. And that's kind of your selling point and Jordan Mack's selling point to me in CKB, when you guys told me about it, and that's what made me kind of fall in love with it in the first place. And now seeing Anchor on there, dope.
Yeah, CKB is like unique in its approach to like the blockchain trilemma. And when you look at like scalability, security, and really like the mass adoption and things like that, it's just kind of one of these things where it carefully mines everything, and tries to create like the best blockchain possible to suit every single one of these points that are super important. Like security is very important. Security scaling is very important. So it's an interesting fit, and the fact that like Nervos network is extremely flexible. I mean, you had mentioned like to the point of like quantum computing earlier. Like you can implement quantum resistant standards without even forking the chain. Like, I mean, you talk about security. Like, what I mean, there's nothing better than that. Like, you know how
Right.
long it takes to fork a chain?
Oh, it's
That's a
horrible.
dude, it's months and months. By that time, the damage is already done. Like developers can just react on the fly. It's just a super flexible infrastructure that they built. And guys, they built this back in like 2018. So, obviously there's been things done to it since, but this is like an OG project that's survived the test of time so far. Like almost, 7 years so far.
And that means a lot. So that just gives me like trust, and because I like stability, I'm not a big change guy. So if you're hard forking all the time, the community doesn't get along, like the developers are at war, it kind of makes it for harder to grow, because then the community's split, and then each of those communities got to grow.
Yeah.
And so I like that, kind of compatibility that CKB brings to the broader, community and ecosystem, that kind of keeps things bridge together, where people can kind of scale CKB as a community, instead of like everybody going in different directions. And I like that compatibility for sure. Now we don't have a lot of time left, but I do want to start talking a little bit about these charts.
We got 6 hours left, baby. Let's
Actually, I've done
go.
I've done a 12-hour live
Marathon.
stream. So I'm going to let you speak first on this. Now we always look at the volume first on my channel,
Hmm.
because volume is a precursor to anything else. And we like to look at the long-term volume. Now, Six Figs, I want your opinion, because so with each crypto, you have to learn what the average volume is. You have to learn what it takes for that crypto to pump. And then you also have to look back and look at these South Korean exchange pumps that we've really seen, like right here, from like doubling the price, or a little more during
Mhm.
these times. But if you look at CKB, the liquidity, we like to see anything pump over 20 million. When we see 20 million or above, we normally see CKB pump. Once we sit at about 10, it's more of a consolidation period. So that's what I really look at. But I also want to, before I have you comment on the volume of CKB, I want to look at the macro factors for all of altcoins, because essentially this is a big thing. Now, the fear and this is an interesting point, though, the counterpoint to what I was going to say just now, because I'm super bullish. But we did move from 52 or 51 in the fear and greed index for Bitcoin down to 48. Now, it's not a big deal if we see this altcoin season index start to rise, because anything over 75, we're starting to see that altcoin season happen. But with the FOMC and everything kind of retracing all of crypto after that initial buy the rumor, sell the news, I think this is long term bullish with future rate cuts. With
Mhm.
altcoin season being 76, the fear and greed index is down, but with the Bitcoin dominance being down from about 67 all the way down to 58, we're starting to see some macro factors turn bullish for altcoins.
Mhm.
So I just want your opinion on that.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with you on that, and I also agree on your earlier statement about how you said that it's gonna take time for liquidity to kind of work its way into the markets, especially when we're looking at a 25-point basis cut. I was secretly hoping for a 50-point basis cut surprise. However, we're gonna get, 75 points in the longer term, which is good, right? But, I think, like, right now, we're like I said before, we're kind of, like, right at this tipping point where maybe we'll start to see these trend reversals. And right now, when I'm looking at, like, the CKB, like, liquidation heat map, for example, when this is a map. I don't know if I could share my screen or not.
Yeah, you can. Let
Let me
me.
see. Let me see if
Yeah,
I can share this. Let's see. Okay. Okay, it might be awaiting approval. There we go. So what you guys can see here, and guys, this is like a 1 month chart. So this gives you like the grandiose of where these liquidation points are and where these market makers are going to target. Now, interestingly enough, there is, let me just break this down for the people that don't understand this. These hot yellow parts, these are where the most liquidations are. These are where these exchanges want to move the price to liquidate longs and shorts. So, right up here, we've got a treasure trove of shorts right at about this, just under a six, just under 0.006, right? But what we're seeing here is that, you know, longs have been suffering. This has been absolutely breaking down the longs. There's still a little bit more suffering. It wouldn't surprise me to see prices really reach down to this 0.0045 before that ultimate rip. But there is, to be honest, some distance between this little hot spot at about 0.0048. I think like there's more money to be made liquidating these people up here, and this is just like the short term side of things. So right now, I feel like we're kind of in this weird zone with CKB, and I do think that we are potentially gearing up to see some higher prices. And I've mentioned it kind of before on my channels and things like that. I'm just preparing a chart for you guys here right now, but I do think that we are gearing up to see some tremendous harmonic patterns really play out. I'm going to share my screen right now, Jeff, and I want to
okay.
get your opinion on this too. Bear with me 1 second. I've got to do move some screens around here. There it is. Okay, I need approval from the boss.
You got it.
When we look at some of these, harmonic patterns, and these are called bearish sharks. And so, what I'm looking at here is two successions of bearish sharks in an Elliott wave theory fashion for the largest one. And really realistically, both of these are showing me like some sort of Elliott wave theory to the downside as far as corrective waves are concerned. Might argue that this is an ABC corrective wave here, ABCDE corrective wave here. But
Mm,
on top of that, there's some harmonic patterns that really are showing up. And this is a weekly chart too. So we're seeing lots of spinning tops. We're seeing a nice thin part of this Ichimoku cloud, which means that it's super easy for price action to kind of
great.
tear through. Hmm. This little recipe on top of that you could almost argue, hey, guess what? There's an inverse head and shoulders here. Like
Yeah.
to me, this is like
Dang.
um, so many different factors on the weekly chart. And a lot of people, like I'll post these charts and it'll be like a 3-day or weekly chart. And like this is, targeting months out, not days out or hours out. And you always get the people in the chat going, "Oh my God, six figs. You completely blew this one. It's been like 2 days and the price didn't 20x." And it's like, the relation to time frame is important when considering any of these charts. And, I know that we've waited a long time, whether it's CKB, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, ICP, guys, like we've been in the trenches for years now. Eventually, we're going to dig ourselves out, right?
I
Um,
mean, so that's the thing. It's all about timing in the markets.
mhm.
So it's all about patience and psychology.
Oh,
That's what I learned. So I don't care about crypto. I mean, so let me not say that. It's not that I don't care about crypto anymore. The money that I have in crypto, I'm willing to lose to make a lot of money. So when the prices go down, I really don't care. It used to affect me. I'd be like, dude, I just lost $1,000 today, dude. That sucks. But now I'm just like, okay, good. It's another buying opportunity. We're waiting for the right time. And as soon as that price pumps, I don't care if everybody says we're going to $10,000 per CKB. When we get to that point where it's time to sell, we're selling and we're buying in because we believe in this project for the long term. But we didn't come in this project to lose money either. So I
yeah.
want to be a big supporter of CKB, but I want everyone on my channel. I want all of us that really have dedicated our lives to crypto to be able to take those profits when they're there for us. Because we dedicated years of our lives to be able to make that money. So when those pumps come, don't believe the hype that we're going to, $1. Even though CKB one day I think will be at $1, we need to be understanding of how the cycles move until that breaks. Do we think that it's a super cycle? Has Bitcoin decoupled from all other cryptos? Well, the Bitcoin dominance says it hasn't. The macro factors has said that it hasn't really happened for the cyclical portion. Is it possible in the next couple of cycles with that massive liquidity coming in from investors, big institutional funds? Yes. But for this cycle, we're still going to stick to our original plan. I think CKB is heading to a penny very soon. With that inverse head and shoulders price target breakout, we're looking at somewhere right around 0.009. I was looking at other technicals that are saying we're going to end up somewhere around a penny very soon for
Mhm.
CKB, which will liquidate all of those short positions at 0.006 cents. And then we can start to move up, get rid of that. But they might start to target some of those longs in the short term. My long term bullish outlook for CKB, if you want me to be, I could be, clickbait and say 25 cents. I think it has the potential, but I think this bull market actually, we're going to right around 8 cents with CKB.
Mhm.
I think that is going to be the top. I think we're going to skyrocket to over 2-3 cents. We're going to sit, we're going to have a problem with that until like November, December. And then we're going to have one last pump in the market. See CKB at about 8 cents. That's what we're at point what 0.05. So
Zero
that
zero five. Yeah.
so we're looking at
About a 16x.
16, yep, so per 8 times 3, yeah,
Yeah.
16x target for CKB. I don't think a lot of cryptos are really going to get that, 100x that we were hoping for this cycle just because of the institutional funds and altcoins kind of doing that.
Mhm.
But I think we're going to see some nice profits and I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think 8 cents is very conservative. And
Okay.
like, that's a very responsible number. You're looking at about a $3.8 billion market cap at a 16x from here with the
So
current market
small
cap of
though.
237 million.
Mhm.
So I think, like, 8 cents, yeah, guess what? From these points, a 16x, you cannot argue against selling your bags when you're up 16x.
And then if it
I
goes
would
up
put,
another, 4 or 5x after
who
that, I'll be
cares?
happy with my profit.
Right, exactly. Like, I think any given day, anybody out there should be very thankful for a 16x. I can tell you that, an 8-cent gain or an 8-cent CKB would be an absolute dream because at that point in time, every single person would absolutely be in the money. It's up to them to sell to secure the profit, but it's really cool to see these ecos when they hit these new all-time highs because it doesn't matter where you bought it. Everybody's in the money,
Right.
right? So that's
There's a lot of selling pressure at that point. So that's why I'm thinking a quick move and then back
yeah.
down because everyone's going to be in the profit. There's going to be no liquidity to hold the price up there. That's why I'm expecting those big
Yes.
moves.
I agree with that 100%. Obviously it depends, like, CKB is not listed on Coinbase. It's not listed
Yet,
on Kraken. So there's a lot of other exchanges out there that could help kind of boost it up there if we can see those price tags this bull run. If not, we'll have to target the next bull run and see what happens. But I like your price predictions, and I'm kind of like right in that zone with you. $4 billion, three and a half, $4 billion market cap is like a very comfortable spot. And if it goes higher, great. I'd love to see this thing at 10 plus billion. The last bull cycle, when there were relatively unknown projects and projects that, I'm gonna be straight up with you. Like Nervos Network, last bull cycle was more capable and more advanced than Cardano. I don't know where the two sit today, but Cardano went on to hit $100 billion market cap plus in 2021. Why? Marketing. That's why. And so, like, when you look at like the fundamentals and actual tech, sometimes it doesn't matter. It's just, market sentiment. Um, but it's kind of one of those things where I think like it'll get its, every dog gets its day, right?
right.
And I think like it's gonna happen.
So we have a couple questions. Why isn't price reflecting given the movement? Because it's the psychology of the market. So anytime we end up at this point, there's people with a lot of money invested and a lot of money that they have at stake. So when the price reflects this, it's because they're gearing up for moves. Now, I've watched a lot of liquidity start to flow into exchanges like USDT and all of these other things. So it isn't reflecting the movement that you need to watch for because then the pump already happened. What you need to look for are the signs that are telling us we're getting ready for these pumps to happen. That way you can get into the crypto before these big moves. Even if there is a brief retracement, if you're not leverage trading and you just buy crypto, it doesn't matter if the price reflects it. If the macro factors, the MACDs are starting to turn long-term bullish, we're starting to see altcoin season. We're starting to see that Bitcoin dominance go down. The moving averages is the only thing that we're kind of below right now in all of crypto. I've been looking at the macro factors for all of crypto because I want to know when the next move is. And most of the factors are telling us we're bullish or going to start to be bullish very soon. You know what I mean? So that's why the price isn't reflecting, because
Mhm.
it's the psychological part of the market and things have to strategically get in place. Like when you play chess, you don't go directly for checkmate. You got to get rid of the pawns and all the other stuff to get yourself in position for that checkmate. And that's what they're doing. They're moving the pawns into position, moving the liquidity where it needs to be, and then planning that timing because most of the big money moves together. So when the money flows into the market, more big money flows into the market, then more money, and that's how it kind of goes. Then the FOMO hits, we get retail in, and then boom, 8 cent CKB.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, here's the deal. Like the old saying, misery loves company. You cannot come up with a more real, like, meme saying than that. And I say that because, like, getting back to my earlier point about like all these corporations and hedge funds owning Bitcoin and deciding to sell and creating these mass liquidity crises, when this happens, it's not just like your favorite altcoin that's suffering. It's all of the altcoins that are suffering, some more than others, right? This is one thing, like, I'm not roasting the ICP community or anything like that, but I notice this a lot because I'm heavily involved with it. And there's a lot of people that are just only invested in ICP, and that's great, right? I own a large bag of pretty much everything in the ICP ecosystem.
Right.
And when ICP goes down, like everything gets slaughtered. And like a lot of people are just only invested in ICP. They're only focused on ecosystem projects. And when you're seeing the price go down, they start whining and crying about why the price is going on while they're not looking at the bigger picture that, like, hey, all of your friends and all of these other crypto projects are getting licked too badly. And so, like, there's this, almost this camaraderie as far as the ebbs and flows of the crypto markets is concerned. We all suffer together. We all, cheer together. We all like champion the high prices together. It just celebrate the pumps together. It's just kind of one of those things where that's kind of my take on it. And like everything's just so volatile in the end. Um, it's just not meant for everyone.
Yeah, and that's why you got to be headstrong, man. I wasn't strong enough, or I'd probably be a millionaire right now in my first bull market. And the opportunities haven't hit me like they did last time. But I'm so headstrong right now. I don't care. Like people, oh, why? And I'm leaving ICP. I've made a nice little dollar in ICP by just being a part of the eco, making videos, and so I never sold my ICP to buy other crypto. It crossed my mind a couple times to sell my ICP bag to buy other cryptos that might do better. But ICP has taken care of me. I believe in the long-term vision. I believe in the people that are building on ICP. And I believe the liquidity will come as long as, like I said, you have that foundation. Same with CKB. It's been around for
Yeah.
a long time. It isn't in the top 100 right now. It was last bull market. We've seen it actually spike really fast into that top 100. And so those are the things, like I met the people that are working and developing CKB, and I've met these people, and I have a small circle. I know a lot of people. I have a lot of people in my life. My circle is very small. All of those people that I know, my circle is very small out of those people. Not that I don't care and maybe love you all, but I keep my circle small because I want only good people in my life. I don't really test people, but your true character will come out eventually if I'm hanging out with you. And so I like to find people's hearts. And if anything I do, whether it's a company I do business with, whether it's a blockchain I support, whether it's a pair of clothing that I buy, I won't do certain things because of certain people. And I think that is how we are in crypto. We kind of navigate to that smaller circle of the broader world and financial system, that we're starting to get that core group of people and the little wine bags that get in for just a quick profit and don't really support the projects and cause all of this FUD and chaos because the price goes down and aren't doing what Six Figs says and go touch grass. Go get in another crypto if you're complaining so much about an ecosystem.
Right.
Like those are the things. You have to be psychologically strong. You have to have that core foundation or you're not going to succeed in crypto. That's what I learned. Your whole life has to be put together. It can't be, oh, I'm winning in crypto right now. Well, if the rest of your life, look at BitBoy Crypto. Very successful dude. Could have been something very great in this crypto world and even in the entertainment field. But his life was not where it needed to be to handle that success. So you have to have your entire life put together, from your circle of people, from the way you do business, from the way you present yourself, to the people you allow in your life and the cryptos you allow in your life and the companies. And so that's why I look for good people, good projects, and good friends.
Yeah, definitely. And like, speaking of Ben Armstrong, BitBoy Crypto, like, I'm friends with the guy. Um, it is what it is. And he had this really, you mentioned this circle of people to support you in this industry. Unfortunately, his support system had some issues. I'm not saying it's 100% the support system. It might have been him too. I don't know the full story on that, but it's for another time. I think, like, to see somebody make $40 million that went from having his electricity turned off because he couldn't pay the bills 3 years earlier is like, it's so captivating. to realize that is the true power of this industry if you put your heart and soul into it. And like when you look at projects like Nervos Network, right? So right now they're ranked roughly about 218, somewhere in that neighborhood. It just depends on what you're using to track it. There's obviously some tracking portfolios that will list a whole ton of like stable coins ahead of it and things like that, and rightfully so. But like when you look at like coin market cap, like guys, they track over 21 million cryptocurrencies, over 21 million. And to be in that top 200, 3, 4, 500, even the top 1000, like to me, that's a pretty big deal. Obviously, the closer to number one you get is good, but to be in the top 500,
Of course.
like you're really chomping at the bit to greatness. And I feel like CKB is in this spot. If you take out some of those stable coins and things like that, some of the shit coins, it's definitely a top 200 project, and it is. So I think
And
like
how fast it moves, like from the
yeah,
top 200 into the top 100, even almost the top 50. And that's what I like. Cryptos that have a solid foundation and have those just big massive pumps, man. Like that is every crypto bro's dream. It is just to
think
see
so.
that massive liquidity come in when nothing else in the market is moving. You can count on CKB for a nice little pump and profit, man. You
And
know what I
Bitcoin
mean?
Renegade and Six Figs here to create live streams about it.
Yes. All right. I think that's all we're gonna have for today. I do appreciate you coming, man. I was just like 20 minutes before the stream. I was like, damn, it would be cool to have Six Figs on the channel today. And I'm like, Six Figs, man, bro, come hang out. And he's like, oh, I got you, bro. And then yeah,
Right.
we ended up here, and it was a great video. This is probably one of the better videos I've made in a while. We had some very interesting topics
I enjoyed it.
beforehand, and I think we touched on some interesting points with CKB that we didn't know about today. So we're learning too with you guys every day, new stuff about CKB. So
Yeah.
that's all we're gonna have. You guys enjoy your weekend. Luckily, my brain's working right now because at the end of work, like my brain shut down a little bit. So glad we had a good discussion and my brain didn't shut down. Guys, get ready. This is going to be the second part of the bull market, whether it happens today or next month. Get your CKB bags. Go follow Nervos Nation. Go look at what the Run CKB Nervos Foundation is doing. There's some interesting stuff, and definitely check out Nerve Apes in their metaverse, guys. So, anything else from you, Six Figs?
Also, there is, if you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area next month, there is a mining convention that's going down, and it's the Disrupt Mining Convention. Nervos Network will be there. They're going to have like a bunch of after parties and things like that. So if you're in the area or just want to stop out, just drop in for the day. Tickets for the conference are like $150. Let me know and I'll try to get you into the after party, which is private. I don't know if I can do that, but hopefully Nervos Network comes through. But yeah, that's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
We'll pack the place. We'll pack the house.
Well, and so that's a big crypto area too. I want to mention down in Austin, they have some pretty big crypto stuff happening down in that area. It's a pleasure to always go to Dallas or that area for crypto conventions. I can't wait to see, kind of some of the capabilities and how to maximize my mining profits, because Six Fig said he's sending me one. And then when I moved to my new place,
I'll send
and
you a
then
miner.
I can get my hands on like a couple more and just not use heat in the winter. Just, heat my house with some miners or something,
I'll hook you up. I got like 8 miners or something like that, and I'll get you going.
Okay, that sounds good, man. And thanks again, Six Figs, man. It's always a pleasure to do videos with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
Have to have me on the channel on yours sometime,
Yeah.
especially when the market starts moving again. Thank you, everybody here in the chat, for always supporting us. You guys have seen Six Figs on the channel so many times, but it's been a while, so I do appreciate you guys and everything. So that being said, goodbye.
You know what time it is.
And good CKB. Bang!